Then from there we were transferred to Monte Cassino.
Were you?
Yeah.
Mm.
And it was a very bad battle there.
Mm.
And they were shelling us like mad, and, you know, eventually the Poles took Monte Cassino, the Polish army, which was part of... But we had the Poles there, we had the New Zealanders, 26,000 Americans got killed there, and I was with the Indian Army. I was sent as a reinforcement, because I was a wireless operator, you know, in Gala,
Yes.
to the Indian Army, the 8th Indian, the 4th Indian Division in the 8th Army.
Right.
And it was okay. We were heavily shelled and all that sort of thing. Eventually,
What were you actually doing? What was your job?
Wireless operator.
You were a wireless operator.
Or dog's body. And dog's body. I mean,
Right.
for instance, I went out what they had, we had our guns. The artillery had our guns.
Yeah.
And they didn't use wireless in those days. Because the Germans were listening to all our broadcasts. So they used wire, telephone wire. So they ran out wires from the guns to the command post and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And they used to say 50 rounds, or they used to fire 50 rounds at the monastery and all that sort of thing. And they used to shell us and mortar us and all that sort of thing, and they kept breaking the wires. So one day the sergeant said to me, Cohen, he said, go out there and on your belly and see if you can find the break in the wire. I can't get through to B troop, you know. So I was about to go. He said, no, hold on a minute. Fishman, there's another chap there that I was serving in England, another Jewish boy actually.
Yeah.
He said, Fishman, you go, I've got another job for going. So he said, Cohen, I want you to take this back to headquarters. He gave me something to take back to headquarters. Fishman went out there and he got killed. He was my best friend.
Oh.
A great guy. I was shattered, completely shattered.
Yeah.
He was doing something I should have gone to do, and he got killed. And it took me a long time to reconcile myself to that.
Did you feel sort of guilty about that?
Very guilty, terribly guilty. And as I knew him so well, and his parents knew me, not that they'd ever seen me, but when he used to write home, he said, Gerry sends his regards. When I wrote home to my mother, I said, Dennis sends regards to you. So they were well known to the families.
Yeah.
So I thought the least I can do is to write a letter to his folks and tell them he never suffered, he died instantaneously, didn't suffer at all. And I saw that he was, you know, correctly interred. They put a big cross on his grave. I said, I'm not having that. He's got to have a Star of David on his grave. He's Jewish. So they took the cross away and they put a Star of David there. And I told them what I'd done. And I wrote home and told my mother that I'd done that for him and what have you. Because she'd known of him, because he served with me in England. We were mates for a long time. Anyway, my mother then sent me a parcel with all goodies in. And one of the goodies was something I'd never seen before, a biro pen. They'd just come out then. And I was looking for the nib, and I was, you know, right, and then I saw you didn't need a nib. The point at the top was like the nib. And it was marvellous. And one of the guys came up and said, oh, what's that thing you're using? So I said, it's a pen. He said, it can't be a pen, it hasn't got a nib. I said, well, it's got this little thing here. He said, let's have a go. So I said, I haven't got any paper. I said, I'll tell you what, write Mrs. B. Cohen and my address and all that sort of thing. And I sent the letter off, my letter in that envelope. When my mother got it, she looked at this thing, she knew where it had come from.
Thought it was someone else's.
Wasn't my writing.
Right.
She put it on the mantelpiece and sat there crying, looking at it all day long. And my father came home and said, what's the matter? You know, what? She said, something's happened to Gerry. I've had a letter from where he comes from, but it's not his writing. Somebody's writing to tell us that something's happened. So I said, well, at least open the letter and see. So she opened the letter and he said, it's Gerry's writing. Well, it's signed Gerry. She wrote me a letter. She told me off. God, she gave me such a rollicking, honestly. She said, don't ever, ever do anything like that to me again.
Right.
And then we heard that the Pope was granting an audience to Allied soldiers. So I was one of the first parties to go into Rome, and there was an Irish boy there. He said, come on. He said, look, I'm not going into Rome with this party. He said, but take my rosary. He said, and if you see the Pope, ask him to bless it for me. It was a big rosary, a wooden rosary. So I thought, silly soul, I'm going to see the Pope. Anyway, I stuck it in my pocket. I said, don't worry, Paddy, I'll see him and get it blessed for you. So I went off there and we were wandering around. They said, get up to the Vatican now, bring the Pope in. So we went up to the Vatican, and I found myself about halfway back in the crowd. And they carried the Pope in and sat him on his throne. And he thanked everybody for coming. And he said, you know, thank you for what you're doing, for the Allied cause and all that sort of thing. And then he walked down the steps towards us, towards the assembled troops. So Paddy's rosary. So I went up there and pulled this rosary and I held it up so high. And he was looking and looking, and he pushed his way through the crowd. And he came up to me and he took the rosary. He said, "This is a very old rosary, my son. Does this belong to you?" I said, "No, sir, it belongs to one of the men in my company who's not here today." And he said, "If I see you, would I ask you to bless it for him?" He said, "And what is your name?" So I said, "Cohen, sir." He said, "Cohen? You're a Hebrew? You're a Jew?" I said, "I'm afraid so, sir." Yes, I am. So he said, "And where are you from?" I said, "From London, England." He said, "Well, I will bless you, friend's rosary, and I bless you too, my son. And I pray that you go back to your family safe and well." I said, "Thank you very much, sir." And then he went on his way. And when I took this back to Paddy, he fell on his knees and kissed my hand. "Cohen, I'll never forget you. What you've done for me, nobody else could have done." Mwah, mwah. He was kissing me like that. I said, "Paddy, back it up. They think we're in love." You know? Anyway, to cut a long story short, about a week later, 8 of us got on the truck because we were reasonably near the sea, about a mile or so from the sea, and we were going for a swim. As we were about to drive off, the Sergeant Major came along and said, "Where are you guys going?" One of the boys said, "For a swim, Sergeant Major." He said, "You're not, son. Get off. I've got a job for you." I said, "Why me?" He said, "Don't argue, son. When I tell you to get off, you get off." "Okay, you don't argue with the Sergeant Major." So I got off, and he said, "Let's enjoy your swim." He said, "Now get your shirt off. You see all that ammunition there?" I said, "Yeah. I want all that moved to the other side of the field, and I want it done now, so bloody well get cracking." I thought to myself, "You bastard, honestly, I could have hit him." But obviously, you know, you don't do that. And the reason I'm telling you this story is the truck with the other boys went down on the beach. They went over a mine, they all got killed. The lorry got blown up. They all got killed. So by being a bastard to me saved my life.
But another escape then.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.